hard to believe it's been nearly 2 decades. Today, a sunny September 11th, similar to the day 18 years ago that was met with darkness. But year after year, family members come together to the place that changed their lives and the world as we know it, to stay true to the pledge to always remember. At 8:46 a.m., a bell tolls, echoing along the footprint of where the Twin Towers once stood. Then, the first moment of silence to mark when the first plane struck the North Tower. It was that exact moment that our city, our country, suffered such a great loss that it would attract loved ones back to Ground Zero year after year. Here, where tears still fall, and the victims who perished that day remain frozen in time. One by one, their names are read.
Timothy Brian Higgins.
Robert D. W. Higley II.
A moment to honor each of the nearly 3,000 men, women, and children lost on September 11th, 2001, and in the 1993 bombing at the World Trade Center.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Singing the national anthem, Cassidy Ryder, whose mother Nancy Collins, a retired NYPD officer, worked at Ground Zero during the search and recovery until she discovered she was expecting Cassidy. New York's dignitaries, including Rudy Giuliani, who became known as America's mayor after 9/11, as usual, were in attendance. Every person here has a story to be shared of life and loss.
As we all know, many firefighters did not make it out, and my son Kenny was one of them.
The ceremony pausing 6 times, twice to mark the moment each plane hit the Twin Towers, twice for when each tower fell, and 2 more times to mark the attacks on the Pentagon and on Flight 93 over Pennsylvania.
And my aunt, for whom I named my daughter after, Azucena Maria de la Torre, we love you forever.
A solemn tribute to those who died and those who risked their lives to save others, like firefighter Stephen Siller, who ran through the Battery Tunnel racing to help others after the attack. His family creating the Tunnel to Towers Foundation in his honor to help the families of men and women killed in the line of duty.
And we said that we're going to honor the sacrifice that he did, that he made, and we're going to make sure that we turn something that was so evil that day into something that's so good.
For the first time, family members will walk through the Glades, a new memorial to rescue and recovery workers. Alice Greenwald, president and CEO of the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, spoke of its importance.
We have young people in college, people beginning their careers, who have no lived memory of 9/11. And yet they're living in a world that is defined in so many ways by the consequences of that event.
A moving ceremony, just as it is every year. Now, right now, the 9/11 Memorial is just open to families. It will reopen to the public at Jenna DeAngelis, CBS 2 News.
Jenna, thank you. 9/11 remembrances are being held throughout our area.
The annual ceremony in Jersey City started this morning with the sounds of bagpipes and a salute under a giant American flag. With One World Trade as a backdrop, people gathered at a memorial made of steel beams from Ground Zero. The memorial is marked with the names of Jersey City residents who lost their lives in the attacks.
Also in Jersey City at Liberty State Park, flowers dotted the Empty Sky Memorial as a tribute to the more than 700 residents from the Garden State who lost their lives on 9/11. The names of all 746 victims are etched in the memorial just across the water from the World Trade Center site.
On Long Island, hundreds of people attended a sunrise memorial service at Point Lookout in the town of Hempstead. It is the same spot where hundreds of residents gathered on September 11th, 2001. More than 450 people from Long Island died in the attacks. Those who attended today's ceremony carried white steel beam recovered from Ground Zero.
184 people were killed when American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon in 2001.
The president and first lady today laid a wreath and observed a moment of silence in honor of the victims and heroes of 9/11. During the memorial service, President Trump offered words of support for the families.
We offer you all that we have. Our unwavering loyalty, our undying devotion, and
last month, the president signed into law the permanent extension of the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund.
Vice President Mike Pence attended the annual 9/11 memorial ceremony in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Shanksville is where United Airlines Flight 93 went down as passengers struggled with terrorists who had taken over the aircraft and were headed towards Washington, D.C. The ceremony includes a reading of all the names of all 40 passengers and crew members who died on board Flight 93.
And we at CBS 2 would like to extend a special word to the families of Isaias Rivera and Robert Pattison, who were lost on 9/11.
Isaias was a CBS 2 engineer who worked at our transmitter inside the towers.
Robert was also a broadcast engineer who worked there. Both men were on the 110th floor of One World Trade at the time of the attacks. Their friends here at CBS 2 send our heartfelt condolences to the Rivera and Pattison families. As communities across the country remember those who lost their lives on 9/11, a group of New Jersey high school students are doing their part to never forget. Students are planting 2,977 flags on the front lawn of Cedar Grove High School in New Jersey, one for each person killed in the attacks. These students were not alive 18 years ago to experience the events of that day themselves, but for many, 9/11 still hits close to home. The senior's father watched it all unfold from Lower Manhattan.
He saw the buildings collapse, and to think that this could be happening right now, like in real life, and to put that into perspective, anything can happen in the blink of an eye.
The project is in its 5th year. Last year, the display received a new addition, a 4-foot piece of steel from the remnants of the World Trade Center.
As it has every year since 2002, the tribute in light will light up the sky over Lower Manhattan tonight. This was last night's view of the beams representing the fallen towers. Our coverage of today's tributes continues on our streaming service, CBSN New York, and at cbsnewyork.com.